then Shelby's going to send it through and fill it up for you. Now, if you do decide you want to take your bottle home today, all you have to do is put a little round sticker on the shoulder. On that sticker, just write your initials and our tour time of 10:30. And we have them sitting out on that shelf right back there. Once you put a sticker on the shoulder, clean it out and set it on the line. And then toward the end, you'll grab your bottle and bring it over. We'll add the wax seal around the top, emboss the Knob Creek logo into it, and then dip it an extra time so that you all put your thumbprint into that wax to help us seal it up. Then it gets a special label down the side. You'll fill this out when you get to the gift shop. You won't see that label on any bottle in the store anywhere else, because the only way to get it is to hang out this year. So this comes with it as if you're buying it at home. If you want to participate and send a bottle through, but you don't want to take it home, I get it. Just don't put a sticker on it. Sound good? All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So stickers right back here with pins. If you want to do that first, if not, go ahead and grab a bottle and we'll send it through. So this is the first one. It was just a ribbon student.
I will.
Oh, cool. Say it's good stuff.
It is.
There it is. And we'll drive it up. Amanda, the one you were talking to earlier, she'll end up.
Yeah. I don't have any left. But it was worth it. Now you can scan all those and use our cell phones.
That's right. Easy as that.
that, so we can boss that logo into here. Yeah.
Straight up. Perfect. Yes, these were started at a time when bourbon wasn't doing very well here in the U.S. There was a more of a focus on gin and vodka. Right, talking like 60s. So when Jim's son, T. Jeremiah, started these decanters out, it really helped us out, and bourbon sales really took off from there. The first one released was this one here. Spot for your poker chips, ashtray, and glass. Anything you could ever need. Filled with bourbon. But our most famous decanter is this one here.
I Dream of Genie.
You got it. That's the I Dream of Genie bottle. We actually supplied the show with 12 of Jeannie's bottles that she used.
No
So if you ever wondered how
Really?
Jeannie stayed so happy all the time. I'll bet that helps. That's right. Now, this stuff here, this was just donated to us from members of the Beam family, people whose families have worked here for generations. A lot of documents from just after Prohibition, and these were our two products from before Prohibition. So before we were Jim Beam, we were the Clear Spring Distilling Company, and we sold Pebbleford and Old Tub. Old Tub was our first national brand, probably because of its charming name. Yeah, but this is the letter that Jim wrote asking if he could get his license back after Prohibition ended, and that's the telegraph he got back telling him he could continue production. So he used to keep that frame on his desk when his office was here. That's the warehouse receipt for the first barrel filled after Prohibition. And exactly 4 years later, from the date on the receipt, they dumped that barrel and threw a great big party. So that's Jim cutting his cake up front. So from there, we became the James B. Beam Distilling Company, eventually shortened to Jim Beam. I think you'll see a shift back to the old label, the James B. Beam Distilling Company, here in the next year or so. So something to look out for. Pictures of Jim and his team in the distillery. This is a little bit more of a recent family history over this way. We've got advertisements from the 60s, a bottle from our millionth barrel up front. This is my personal bourbon hero, Mr. Booker No. He created small batches, period. So not just our small batches, but the idea of the small batch. And he's sitting next to a bottle of his Booker's 30th. The closest I've ever been to that bottle. But next to that is a product that he named after his cousin, Baker Beam. So Baker's the gentleman there in the black vest. And Baker was the last family member to live in that house on top of the hill by the gift shop. And we'll pass it again on our way to the bar. But he moved out in '87 just to get a little more privacy. He just moved down the street. People are knocking on his door asking for bourbon and tours at all hours of the night. So he still comes in to see us all the time. He just celebrated his 83rd birthday this past year. So he'll sign bottles of Baker's and hide them on the shelves for you all. Now we did just change our Baker's product. So this is our small batch that you've probably seen up to this point. We've just discontinued Baker's as a small batch and reintroduced it as a single barrel. It's not in this case. I'll show it to you in the bar. It looks a lot like this Legion bottle, same style. But the single barrel, of course, it's going to be the same kind of at least 7 years old, always 107 in proof, but they'll be able to tell you specifically just how old your barrel is on the label. My boss, Marsha Beam, has left a note on the bottle in the bar. Do not open. So I'll show it to you, and then I'll put it back where I got it, because I'm not allowed to drink it with you. This is my boss, Mr. Fred No. Fred, of course, he created Devil's Cut. He created a Double Oak, a lot of our flavored whiskeys that we have now. He also created Legent with the help of our master blender, Shinji, in Japan. And then you've got his son, Freddie, and he'll be my next boss. So Freddie has already started distilling. Have you heard of Little Book? Little Book? So that's his product. Yeah, he releases them in chapters. Because his nickname is Little Book because he looks like his grandpa Booker. So chapter 3 was released in August of this past year. I think we got it August 2nd and we were sold out by like August 4th. Yeah, went through it pretty quickly. Now Freddie has a little girl, just about this big. And I'm hoping maybe she'll feel like making bourbon someday because I think that'd be kind of cool. Now the floor underneath you all covered with all these countries. And each country is sitting next to the year we introduced Jim Beam to that location. So this is another tribute to T. Jeremiah, along with the decanters, because he was our global ambassador. If you all want to see T. Jeremiah, All you have to do is pull your cameras out and point your cameras at this left half of the wall here. At this gentleman, no. Your lens will help you piece together something that's hard to see otherwise. We'll be out in like 2 minutes.
It's cool. Yeah, you can see it.
And if you take your phone across the wall, it spells out global, and on the right side there's a world map. Okay. Good. All right. Do you have any questions for me? Anything I maybe missed along the way? So repeal badge.
How did that had something to do with prohibition?
Yes, celebrating the repeal of prohibition. It was a lot like Black Label. I don't know if you've ever had Jim Beam Black.
Yeah.
So around the same age and even the same proof. Biggest difference is that the repeal batch was not chill filtered. When you chill filter a bourbon, all the fusel oils that come along with the grain solidify and sink to the bottom, and you get them out. And that keeps your bourbon from getting cloudy. And it also, the problem is we were shipping non-chill filtered bourbons, which is, I think, a better way to make bourbon. We were shipping it to these tiny little liquor stores that didn't know anything about bourbon. They'd set them up against a cold window and they'd fog over it.
Anybody have eyes?
So they would think that something was wrong with it and they'd get rid of it. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. When you leave the fusel oils in your bourbon, you get a thicker, creamier, smoother bourbon. So repeal was not chill filtered, it was 86 proof. A lot like Black Label.
It was the same stuff they made right after prohibition ended? Was that what I understood from the story, or no? Is that how the style they made it in there?
It probably resembled, yeah, that style. And the style of the bottle too, you'll notice pre-prohibition and prohibition style also talks about the style of the bottle itself.
Yeah.
Prohibition style are those thin, skinny bottles that are flat like the Knob Creek,
Right.
because they were easy to conceal. Post-prohibition or pre-prohibition would have been those thicker bottles, like the Black Label and their repeal. Yeah, good question. Absolutely. Any other questions? Okay, one more room, and then we're getting on our bus, and we're going up to the bar. Booker's. That's my favorite. So I spend a lot of time on Booker's. Now I do want to, I hate to just run through this room and not talk about it. I think it's too important, especially in light of recent events. Do you all know that Jim Beam lost a warehouse recently? Yeah, here this past July. It wasn't here, it was in Frankfurt. We have another property in Frankfurt where we do our bottling, and a couple warehouses out there. One of our warehouses got struck by lightning, and it burned down in like 15 minutes. And we lost 45,000 barrels. Right, Danny? Yeah, it was rough. Biggest concern when that happens is to make sure that no one gets hurt, of course, and also to make sure it doesn't spread to any nearby warehouses, because bourbon warehouses for some reason are really close together. That's a big hazard. So, do you want us to come down to you?
You can, but I still can't move.
The other way?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be out just a second.
Yeah, take your time.
45,000 barrels, a lot of phone calls the next day to make sure that we were okay, which I thought was really sweet. And also, can we still take our tour? Of course. And also, do I need to rush out and buy all the Jim Beam I can find? To which I said, yeah. But not because we're running short on this. So that warehouse we lost, it was our 84th warehouse, so we went down to 83. We are already back up to 84. Before that warehouse burned down, we were already building 5 new ones.
Hey, Ben or T1,
The newest of which is probably the first thing you saw when you first got here, sitting up against the road.
Yeah.
That warehouse on the main stretch is holding 58,500 barrels.
Wow.
So we still have 2.5 million barrels aging in the state of Kentucky, and that's just for Jim Beam. So we'll make sure you get your bourbon, okay? All right, y'all come on up with me. We do swap patches with first responders that visit us because we do have a Jim Beam Fire Department here on the property, and it's made up of our plant workers down here. They are our volunteer firefighters. So if anyone wants to swap a patch, just take a picture of this plaque and send one to us to that address at the bottom, and our fire chief Kevin will send you one of ours. Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, right at this.
Wow, it's cool.
You can do that third.